My name is Stuart Pym. The label I make wines for with Naked Wines is Hearts and Bones. And that next question, how long have I been making wine for? I think it's about 3 years. So it's, certainly the third year, because it's the third tasting I've come to. I started making wine in 1983, had a bit of a sabbatical where I made beer from 86 to 91, and I've been making wine since 91 in Margaret River. So that's comfortably more than half my life. Just frightening. I guess what I really like about it is that it actually, coming from the previous jobs I'd had, gets me back to what I got into the business for, is actually being involved in making wine. My previous jobs at various places were as in senior winemaker and winery manager, and an awful lot of my time was spent in the winery manager bit, reporting to boards, doing budgets, corporate compliance, government compliance, OH&S, managing people. Got away from all of that, got back to that winemaking bit, and Naked Wines does give me that freedom, and that sort of little connection there is where the Hearts and Bones name and the little imagery comes in, where the balloons and the hearts is the expression of imagination and creativity, and the bones and the little press is the rigidity and structures that constrain us or hold us back from allowing our creativity to go. I'm a balloon person, so I like the creative expression, even though I'm not the most extravagant, ebullient person, but I like the creative side. I do play music as well, so that fits in as well. Less frustration of being part of the corporate nature and the rigidity and having to stick to those structures and deal with large format groups of people. So just that, I guess, that creative expression, and do stuff with wine, and I really like wine obviously because I've been doing it for quite a long time. Just to make wines in styles that I enjoy and that the region excels at. I don't know if my partner would agree with that, but she's a winemaker as well. People ask me how I got into winemaking, and I say gravity. I fell into it. My parents planted a vineyard in Margaret River in the mid-late 70s, and I had just come out of a previous degree which I'd worked out I didn't want to pursue at that time. So I just went down to Margaret River to help them in their vineyard, and in '83 started a correspondence winemaking course and started making wine with them. So it was really a matter of a time and a place and the direction that the current of my life took me at the time. Yes, absolutely, but with a vastly greater and deeper understanding of making wines, but also how that works with the vineyards. And I've spent, as I mentioned earlier, since 1991 making wines in Margaret River, the understanding of the region as well, what Margaret River can do, what parts of Margaret River does well. Just a vastly greater understanding of making wine, from the growing of the grapes to the finishing of the product. Some people could argue with some of the brands I've been involved with, starting beyond the finishing of the product to actually starting of developing wine brands as well, because I think Stella Bella is a fairly well-known brand that Janice and myself started quite a while ago. And I do think it's important to have an appreciation and an understanding of the whole business. And selling wine is the hardest part, but to have an understanding of that is really important as well. Favourite varietal, favourite region? One answer is, if you looked in my cellar, what you would see most of. And that is, without a doubt, is Barolo. So that's Nebbiolo from the northwest of Italy. And for some reason, I collect Nebbiolo, and I own vastly too much. No, you can't own too much. Within what I deal with in making wines, Chardonnay and Cabernet are my two favourite wine styles within Australia. I love Chardonnay, and I love complex textural Chardonnays, and I'm always bemused by the people that say they don't drink Chardonnay. And I just love Margaret River Cabernet. It has length, purity, power, but a sense of finesse as well, which is something that just that magic combination of the variety and the region seems to do really well. I do have this angel in the US I can't remember her name, it's Lady something from something, and she's shifted states a few times and it changes a little bit, and it's now Naked Lady from Delaware or something like that, and her comments are really funny and entertaining, but just her name is quite entertaining as well. But I do remember one comment from an Australian person, and it wasn't actually a direct comment back to me, it was this person making a comment on one of my comments, and the original comment was someone who was negative on my wine and my response, and she just thought my very polite response was one of the best ways for saying that you didn't like the wine. It was just worked along the line that perhaps you and my wine aren't a match made in heaven, as happens.